Hey everybody, welcome to Hey We're Talking. And it's a Wednesday, maybe, depending on where you're listening. It could be a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Sunday. Could be any day of the week, truly. But for us, it's a Wednesday. Right, Bob?
That's true, because everybody listens at different times, and these will be in the interweb forever.
Yeah. So they could
be
listen.
2023.
That's true.
Shout out to you if you're listening in 2023.
Ooh, that's deep.
If you're listening in 2023, leave a comment below so we can go back and go, wow,
Somebody
we
actually
were
listened in 2023.
right. That's all. That'd be awesome.
That would be. That's got really deep in my head. I was like, man, in 2023, I wonder what the show will be like.
I know. I can't imagine.
Do you think-
80,000 downloads per second. Be awesome.
Yeah. Do you think maybe like we won't even be real humans? We'll have our androids do it.
Our clones.
Yeah, our clones.
I'm not going to put my clone. I'm not going to trust a clone to do this show. I'm going to handle this myself. I'll let the clone do the unimportant stuff like, raising my kid and going to work and stuff like that.
Definitely going to work. I would send my clone for sure.
The problem is, I don't think any of the AIs or clones would sound the way we do. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for this sound. Because otherwise, my clone would be like this. Hello, how are you? And it just wouldn't work very well.
That was pretty good, though. But I think it'll sound like you, too.
There's a YouTuber out there. His name is like Chills or something like that. He does a lot of these top 10 lists, 10 things, 10 weird things caught on video. And the voice he uses when he reads stuff off is terrible. It's unlistenable because he's like, hey there, in Florida, there was this drone footage of a thing and it caught some movement. He talks like
I didn't know. I didn't know about that guy until he was actually posted on Creator Cast. A section of his video was in a big group of video or something like that. So, yeah, a group of video in a bloop. No, there was just a bit of his video was in like a compilation that somebody put together.
Do you see his face actually talking?
No,
is it just
it's
Dude,
a voice of.
You know what it might be for? I'm not kidding. I think maybe it's like computer generated speech. It might not even be him.
Well, see, the voice that I did was actually, if you guys remember this from your childhood, do you guys remember the See and Say?
Yeah.
Where you like do different letters and then you hit the button and it says it back to you?
Yeah.
That's the voice I was doing. A, B, C, D. Because that's exactly how that little machine sounded.
Was that the speak and spell?
Yeah, speak and spell.
It would speak and spell, See and Say. I don't.
Hey, you fooled me at first. I thought it was the CNC. I was playing along with you till Derek corrected you.
Yeah, in my brain that's what it was, but
Speak
that's
and
okay.
spell.
Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
I'm gonna look it up because I think
we had some technology when we were kids. Although you guys were not around for some of it because I'm older, but our technology was so lame compared to now. The little football games and all that kind of stuff. Exciting.
Okay, so
is that
that's
speak
it.
and spell? Yeah.
Speak and spell. So the See and Say was that circle where you pull the cord and it spins around.
The cow says,
yeah,
that was the C and Say.
So speak and spell, is that what it is?
Speak and spell.
Speak and spell.
I bet you people probably still collect those things. They're probably hunting them down on eBay. I need a mint condition speak and spell.
Did you know there were 3 of them?
Really?
3 different
iterations of it?
There was like 3 different ones. Like one was like for math.
Look at Derek.
Wow.
Man.
I remember this because I
dive.
was a kid in that era.
Were you excited about it?
Speak in math.
Did you have one?
I think I might have had one.
I like that you could carry it with the little thing at the top. It was like a briefcase. You
I like the
it
fact that you put in a swear word and it doesn't say it.
No, it won't do it.
No. I learned at a young age.
Could you put in the word boobs or anything like that and it would say it, or no?
Nope.
No boobs either? Give me a break. You got to be able to say boobs and make everybody laugh. What about fart?
I don't know.
Somebody that has a speak and spell, tell us if you can say fart with it, because that would be funny.
F-A-R-T, fart.
That's it. That's it.
You nailed it.
We don't need one now. We just got Bob.
Yeah.
Bob can just do anything we want. The reason that I'm saying about that guy with the weird voice is there are radio stations that will play the weather through these like robotic. You can barely tell that it's not a human being. They'll be like, tonight there will be a chance of clouds with thunderstorms and a low of 72 degrees. And it sounds like it's a person, the way that they spread out the words and everything, but it's like a robotic computer voice.
Yeah, it's the same thing as like Siri.
Except
it's a real woman's voice, but
right.
They
she
basically
tells the weather.
Keep that specific track of her voice and put words through it, and it does everything.
Technology is deep, guys. Wow.
Now the Chills guy, I don't think he's a robot. I think he's actually just reading stuff off, and he just sounds so weird. You gotta find him. It's
Haters
every time
hate.
Every time I play a video of his, my wife is like, I can't stand this guy.
Why do you watch his videos?
Because it's interesting content. It's like, top 10 creepy things caught on video. This is a bunch of weird stuff like that.
That's odd.
You got a bunch of.
But it doesn't always let you down, or is there actually actual stuff that's interesting?
It depends.
It's clickbait.
Yeah,
it's total
I like
clickbait.
Those. I like.
Derek loves clickbait. He's like, give me all the clickbait I can get.
I mean, that's how I've built my YouTube channel.
Your YouTube channel is clickbait?
Well, it's niche. It's a niche audience clickbait.
It is. But it's not clickbait because you give them what you say you're going to talk about.
Yeah, I deliver, kind of.
Clickbait
maybe.
is like, hey, we have pictures of Bill Clinton falling down the steps, and then you go to it and it's not. Or they say Bill Clinton's in a lot of trouble, and then they never talk about Bill Clinton. I don't know why I chose Bill Clinton.
I don't know. We need to start doing some clickbait on this show and see what happens.
Let's do some mid-90s clickbait,
We could definitely clickbait. All right. So I think we've laughed enough. Now we have to get serious. No, I'm serious. We were going to talk about something a little heavy today. If people don't know, I will let you know. I don't know how you wouldn't know this, but there was another school shooting in the United States in Florida, in Parkland, Florida, at a high school. And this happens too often in our country. And a lot of people have opinions as to why, and I'm sure you guys will share those with us. We're not looking to get into an argument with anybody, but we do want to talk about it a little bit because it just keeps happening. And I think it's good to talk about these things, and I think that we can have a civil conversation and just share some of the things that we're thinking. And who knows, maybe we'll have some good ideas. Maybe we can figure out what in the world is going on and find out how to stop it from happening again, because it's not cool. It's a horrible situation, and I think the saddest thing for me is that the person who did it, I'm not going to say the name of the person, because I think that's part of the reason that people try to do these things is they want to become famous as the person who, killed however many people. And I'm not going to say the person's name. So any which way, it was a kid that had gone to this high school. He had talked about this with students. In fact, students, when they've been interviewed, have said that this kid mentioned more than once that he wanted to be a professional school shooter. He was really fascinated with guns and knives, and posted pictures on Instagram and his social media stuff. And teachers were actually sent an email warning them that this kid had made threats. He was not allowed to be on campus with a backpack because they were worried they would bring something in with the backpack. I mean, the warning signs were all over the place. This kid had a troubled past, had family issues, all sorts of stuff. All that being said, he came to school. He was not in the school any longer, but he came to the school and pulled the fire alarms, and the kids started coming out of the classes, and he ended up at the point that we're recording this, I believe 17 people were killed by this kid.
Yep.
So, and I'm sure there are people that are still, in critical condition or injured because he shot a lot more than that. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk about guns. We're going to talk about what's going on in America and just kind of give our thoughts, and we'll see where it goes. So I'm going to leave it open and let you guys kind of say what you're thinking, and then we'll see where it goes. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, this is a horrible situation, and obviously we've seen a couple school shootings in the past few months now,
Yep.
and it's like what's going on? The biggest thing is with a lot of these school shootings that we've seen over the last several years since Columbine, really, is there was always signs that people ignored or missed, and of course you've got one side that just says, well, all guns need to go away. And then you've got another side that says, well, shouldn't you have seen all these warning signs and not allow this kid on campus or whatever, and that's probably the biggest thing I don't understand is he was expelled from the school. Everybody knew that he was trouble. He showed signs of mental illness. Then he somehow is able to get back into the school at 2:39 or 2:19 in the afternoon with a black backpack and pull out an AR-15 and start shooting people. And I don't understand that. Maybe that's just because how my kids' schools are set up. But like if I go to my kids' school, I have to be buzzed in, and then you walk into basically a holding room. And then to get out of that room, they have to scan your photo ID. You have to get a visitor's badge, and then they have to buzz you in to the next set of doors to actually get in the school.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't get why don't all schools have that? There should be no access from opening a door or a side door or whatever the case may be. So to me it's shocking, and there's so many things I just go, well, who failed here? And that's really what I want to look at. My big thing is don't look at the guns. Look at the processes that are in place right now and say, okay, who failed at the school? Who failed with the police that knew he was going to do this? That's really what we need to focus on first. And then if we want to talk about how he got a gun and all this stuff, then we have that conversation. Yeah. So, Derek, I'll throw it to you if you want to add something to that.
Thanks, Bob and Scott. Wow. It's it's pretty horrible, and there's been a lot of mass shootings, a lot of tragedy. We've had Las Vegas, we had Sutherland Springs, we've had Paris and the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, and just countless others. Sandy Hook. You can't even keep track anymore.
Nope.
It's just one tragic thing after the other. You turn on your, something happens and you don't even see it anymore. Like before, a couple of years ago, when something would happen, like a tragedy like this, you'd see something like pray for Paris, pray for Orlando, pray for Houston, pray for something. You don't even see it anymore because it's everywhere. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hate that. I don't really know the details of the incident. I know that, like you said, former student walks into a school and guns down a whole bunch of people with a legally acquired gun and kills 17 people, injures countless more, and they have him in custody. And troubled kid, lots of warning signs, but yet it always kind of just in the media and in public, Facebook, on people put on Facebook or Reddit or wherever, it all just kind of comes down to, what are we going to do about guns?
Right.
What are we going to do about hatred? What are we going to do about evil?
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about what is happening in our world that causes a person to devolve into that?
Mm-hmm.
What causes a person to think that that's what they must do?
Yeah.
Hurt a lot of people. What can we do to interrupt that process? And sure, if there was, if there was some way to manage their access to firearms or whatever, it would definitely mitigate some of these circumstances. But it doesn't help the cause.
Yeah.
Right. That's just you're putting the cart before the horse with that. What we really need to do is, interrupt that process that turned this kid into a monster.
Yeah.
How do we stop this? How do we turn this how do we help this kid who's troubled, and how do we help him and help him heal?
Well, but my thing to it right now is, and it goes back to what I said, is that all has to happen. You're dead on air, Derek. I mean, that's spot on. But the thing is, we have to figure out what we need to do now to secure these schools and to not take these threats lightly that people hear. Because the FBI said that over a year ago they got a tip that he was threatening to shoot up a school on YouTube. So my thing is, before we even hunt down these individuals and go, hey, how do we correct this from the beginning? We need to. That's going to be a long process. Mm-hmm. We need to start now by going, okay, who's following up on these leads and these tips? Who is, making sure that these schools are secure? That's the biggest thing, because it's going to happen again. Yeah. As much as we don't want to think about it, it's going to happen again. There's going to be a copycat off of this one or something. But if the kid goes to a school that's secure, it can be prevented. So start with that.
The sheriff. And then go ahead. I'm sorry. I just thought you were.
Well, I was just going to say. Then we can talk about, what we could do for mental help and what we could do as far as making sure kids don't grow up in broken homes, and what we could do about the guns and all that stuff. But we've got to secure things now before it does happen again.
Yeah, I think one of the things the sheriff mentioned was. He was very frustrated that the FBI was made aware of this situation a long time ago and didn't follow up on it. And I mean, we could go. I could really go off on the FBI, but I'm just going to swallow that for a minute and just say this. One of the things that I think I talked with some people that live down here in South Carolina near me, and I asked them about their school that their kids go to. I think about what happened after 9/11. After 9/11, we put air marshals on planes. And since that time, since 2001, 9/11, 2001, we have not had anybody hijack a plane and ram it into a building. Okay, now, obviously, that's an extreme case. But what in the world, why are we not saying... We have this issue. Here's part of the problem. And the reason that these kids, whether people want to believe this or not, they go to schools because schools are gun-free areas. It's a place where you can basically, if you have a weapon, you can walk onto the school and start shooting people because no one else has anything to stop you from shooting them. Now, this was my understanding. I was told by this friend of ours that at their school there are police officers with weapons guarding the school. So my thing is, as a country, do we not value these children enough to say, just think about this for a minute. You don't need an army of people at a school. You need 1 to 2 individuals who are trained and understand weapons that can stand guard, just like you're saying, Bob, at your kid's school. You have to be buzzed in. If you have a guy who has a weapon and a kid starts coming towards that school with a weapon, he's trained and understands exactly what he needs to do to eliminate that situation, meaning take the kid out if he has to. But the whole point is he protects, that school had 3,000 kids in it. He protects 3,000 kids from being shot at.
Yep. Well, and think about this. How many veterans out there that would love to have a job like that?
Sure.
Something that they physically, can't do other jobs or whatever anymore. Now that they have an opportunity to serve in another way, and it's protecting people, and that's what they do. Yeah. I mean, that'd be a great opportunity for them. But yeah, I mean, my kids have got their school. They've got security guys. Now, I don't know if they're carry guns or what. I don't think they're armed. But, I mean, there are people around at least watching, and there's video cameras everywhere. But it's like, I don't understand why all schools, they should all have that.
The school in Parkland, Florida, the security guard was shot by the kid because he didn't have a weapon. So, again, to me, posting someone there who's security, who basically just goes, hey, stop, and calls the police. The problem is, the police are awesome. I love police. I don't have problems with police. if you call the police, you've got minutes before they're going to arrive. Yep. No matter what is going on, unless they were parked out in front of the school, it's going to take time to get there. And in that time, the damage that can be done with a semi-automatic weapon, which basically means, by the way, everybody who gets freaked out about semi-automatic, it just means when you pull the trigger, it shoots, okay? Yep. Because that's another thing that a lot of people get, I can't believe America allows semi-automatic weapons. It's not what you think it is.
Well, even if it wasn't semi-automatic, you could still, I mean, it doesn't take very long to shoot 15 rounds out of a clip or 10 rounds out of a clip and put another clip in. I mean, it doesn't take very long. So,
but the whole point is, rather than having to go bang, click to get the trigger back again, bang, click, you know what I'm saying? The hammer is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you want to use a revolver, but anyway.
My whole point is, semi-automatic just means you pull the trigger and it's ready to shoot again.
Right.
It doesn't mean you just hold down the trigger and it's so stupid when people think that. Okay, sorry. I'm on a little bit of a soapbox. But my whole point is, why, if we have air marshals for flights, do we not have school marshals? I mean, it's something that I think is worthwhile. It would be an investment in the children of our country that I think is well worth it. Derek,
well,
you're going to say something.
Can I advocate for the devil for a little bit?
Sure.
You know. All right. You brought up a lot of great points. You know, we need to have, the warning signs were there. Why wasn't law enforcement, on this guy? Bob, your school has locks and alarms and armed security and all kinds of, they got to be buzzed in. That's great. Guess what? All that stuff costs money.
Oh, yeah.
All right? That stuff costs money. It costs money.
So what?
It's
worth it.
I mean, it could be worth it, but you let's talk about like the kid with the warning signs, But we always hear that this kid made threats, he showed signs. How many other people also showed signs from that area that year?
Right.
Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? My guess is that the law enforcement is overwhelmed with threats and these kinds of folks all the time.
From what I heard, though, from the sheriff, his frustration was there's not much he can do. And again, that to me says that we need to give law enforcement the authority to say, hey, this kid, I mean, we're not talking about let's grab this kid and throw him in a dungeon, okay? We're talking about this kid is showing signs of violence and threatening violence. What can the police, what can the authorities, the people in charge do? And I got to tell you, in the society in which we live right now, probably not much, because they're afraid that they're going to offend somebody. They're afraid that they're going to get sued. They're afraid of this. They're afraid of that, because we've created the whole world is pure madness right now. Logic has gone bye-bye, because the logical step to take care of this stuff is do whatever is necessary to take care of it. And listen, when people say, I know I've seen so many people from other countries talk about, like on Facebook and all these different places, you can just look up your favorite social media and you'll see this. People from other countries are like, I can't believe how many guns Americans have. I can't believe that you guys think guns are good. I can't believe. Listen, you can think that, but I want you to understand something. We have over 300 million people in this country. We have way over 300 million guns owned in this country.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just pretend for a moment that tomorrow Congress and the Senate said, okay, everybody turn your guns in. You're kidding yourself if you believe that, number one, it's going to be an easy thing to happen, number one. Number two, that people are not going to revolt against it. And number three, the amount of manpower and violence that would have to happen for guns to be removed out of the hands of Americans. It's not about, I don't want to go too far into this, but again, I have to say this because I've seen so many people saying, I can't believe Americans still have guns. Dude,
well,
it can't be taken away at this point.
Well, even let's say every American, just for whatever reason, just for make believe here for a minute, said, you know what, fine, take our guns. But is that going to stop the bad people from getting guns?
No.
Are they? No, they're still gonna get guns smuggled in illegally,
or they're
still going to cause crime,
or they're going to use a car.
Look at Canada. I actually looked this up not long ago. So Canada, you're not allowed to have guns in Canada. That's their thing.
I think you can have hunting rifles.
But look at their crime rates, domestic abuse, violence, all that stuff. They're not that far off from where we are. In a lot of cases, they're higher than us on specific things. So getting rid of guns isn't necessarily just the answer.
And that goes back to what Derek was talking about. We're talking about, listen, this all boils down to whether you are someone who's religious or not, or whatever you believe. This is a heart issue. This is an evil versus a good. There's the possibility of evil in every human being. Some people hear that evil and pursue the evil and do evil things, and some people recognize that those thoughts are evil and they don't carry out the thoughts that they have in their mind. So to me, just like you're saying, Derek, it's a heart issue. This goes to the heart of a human being and what they believe morally. And again, you can't change that. We can't go to somebody and go, okay, you can't be evil. Stop being evil. Because if that was true, we wouldn't have Hitler, we wouldn't have Stalin, we wouldn't have had slavery, we wouldn't have, go down the list of all the things that have happened in human history. You can't erase evil. You can combat evil, but you can't erase it.
Yep.
Well, we're the whole thing with guns. It's we've hit on this. You just hit on it. I've hit on it. Whatever a person has become, if you're evil, if you're full of hate, if you're full of anger, if you're full of rage or whatever, you're going to lash out in whatever way. Now, for many, guns is like the way to maximize damage.
Yeah.
And so should we have, regulate, everyone's like, oh man, you get people who are like, don't stomp on the Second Amendment. And it's not about that. I think a lot of times if there were certain other ways to prevent this person from having access, if he is showing signs of violence, if he's showing signs of being mentally ill, then he shouldn't be allowed access to a gun. Period.
Yeah, from what I understand, he didn't buy the weapon. It's not his personal weapon.
I think they said he bought it legally.
I thought he wasn't old enough to purchase it.
He's 19 or something.
Yeah,
anyway,
you got to be 18.
But anyway, we can't regulate hatred.
No.
We can't regulate. We can do a few things here and there to kind of, minimize the risk and, maybe restrict his access to firearms. But we as a society need to be able to look at our neighbor, look at these people around us, and intervene on their behalf. If we see signs, that's how we change. That's how this is going to stop. It's by infusing maximum amount of love around each other, showing love, showing tolerance, showing forgiveness to everyone. If you see somebody who's struggling, be there for that person. Don't bully him or punch him down or come down harder on him. That's what creates monsters. Mm-hmm. Who knows what this kid's home life was like? Who knows what this kid was like, 5-10 years ago when he was at school struggling and having a bad day. And instead of people saying, hey man, what's going on? You've got bigger kids, bullies who are going to shove him and say, get out of my way, kid, and just punch him down just a little bit further. That's what creates these monsters. It's not just a single thing. It is consistent negativity pushing that person in a direction where he eventually snaps.
I do agree with you, Derek, because if you look at the amount of teenagers that have committed suicide in the last couple of years, that has increased a lot too. And a lot of it goes from bullying, whether it's at school or cyberbullying or anything like that. There is so many issues with the mental health of kids and being able to identify it. And back to one of my other points is, a lot of it all starts in the home. I mean, you're supposed to raise your kids, and you're supposed to raise them with. My goal is to be a better father than my father was, and my son's goal should be a better father than I am, and that should go on and just improve things. But when kids are in broken homes and they don't have guidance, they don't have leadership, to me, if they don't have faith, there's a big piece of that there's something missing, and that's why we get some of these kids that are the way they are, and unfortunately, I don't know what it's going to take to correct all this, but yeah, I mean, we have to start with us individually. We have to make sure that we do right. Whatever you believe, faith-wise, whatever, that's your thing, and you need to put that as your priority. You need to have some sort of a moral compass that guides you in the right direction. If you like being miserable and you like being, negative and all this stuff, so are your kids. Your kids are going to be that way too, and the people around you are going to wind up being that way. That's why it's been joked that I'm Mr. Positive, but I try to stay positive. I try to have a good attitude. I try to look at the best in people just because that's the kind of energy I want to put off. And that's how I want my kids to be raised, knowing that love trumps everything. And, you don't have to be negative and, the way a lot of people are these days.
Yeah. Here, we'll just wrap it up on this. I'll say this. One thing that I think everybody needs to do too is when you see something, don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to tell people that you see. I mean, in this case, this young man, he did come from a broken home. His mom passed away. I mean, he had a lot of things going against him. But don't be afraid to share with people your concerns about someone. And make sure that, if you tell somebody about this stuff and they just kind of blow it off, then tell somebody else. Don't be afraid to tell people that you're worried about someone. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm worried that I'm tattletaling. No, you're helping other people. You're saving other people's lives maybe in the long run. So don't be afraid to say anything. Go ahead, Bob.
One last thing for me. If you are a gun owner, if you enjoy having your weapons and you want to keep them, just put them in a safe. I mean, that's really it. That way your kids or your kids' friends don't have access to them. Lock it up. Safe. I've been looking at a new safe and something a little more, a little upgraded, a little more secure. They're not that expensive. I mean, you can go $500 to $1,000 and you'd never have to worry about somebody getting into it and taking a gun and going to a school or something like that. So lock up your guns if you're going to have them.
All right. Well, thanks for letting us kind of talk about this. I know it was a little different than what we usually do here on the show, but we need to talk about this stuff. We need to get it out there. We need to have conversations. And I don't think, if the three of us on this show, I don't think any of us are like so staunch in one way that we're going to say, no, that can't be this, or we can't do this. We need to have a discussion about this, and I'm glad that you let us do that. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you, and we will talk to you guys on Friday, where we'll lighten things up just a little bit.